Hello everyone, it's Jackie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing part 2 of my Game of Thrones Season 8 death predictions. In case you did not watch part 1 of this video, it is linked in the description below. But in case you did watch part 1 but still need a little bit of a refresher, here's who I think will die and who will live in the upcoming season of Game of Thrones so far. So far, I think Tyrion, Jon, Brienne, and Missandei will live, but Daenerys, Jorah, Grey Worm, Tormund, Jaime, Cersei, and the Mountain will die. At the end of my last video, I was talking about how I thought the Mountain would die, so I think we should move from Clegane to Clegane and talk about the Hound. I actually did a complete 180 on my thoughts about the Hound. Originally, I thought that the Hound was going to die in Season 8, but when I thought about it further, I actually think there's a really good case for him surviving. My initial thought was that the Hound would die saving the life of either Arya or Sansa. I thought this would show how the Hound has experienced personal growth. However, I think we can still accomplish this, but have the Hound survive the entire series. This theory about the Hound also concerns the fate of another character, Beric Dondarrion. Now, as you may or may not know, the character of Beric has actually been long dead in the A Song of Ice and Fire book series. Beric had this power called the Last Kiss, which he could use to revive someone from the dead at the expense of his own life. In the book series, Beric chose to use this power on Catelyn Stark after the Red Wedding, and this resulted in his death, but Catelyn coming back to life as this sort of zombie-like character named Lady Stoneheart. Now, obviously, since Beric is dead in the books, this would be a show-only element, but I think it would be really cool if the show could do a play on The Last Kiss as a nod to book fans. Obviously, Beric would not use the last kiss on Catelyn in the show, considering the time for that has long passed. But I think it would be amazing if Beric actually used the last kiss on the Hound. So I think it is entirely possible that the Hound could die, saving the life of a character like Arya or Sansa. Then I think Beric would decide to use the last kiss on the Hound so that the Hound can fulfill his destiny of killing the Mountain. Or, in an alternative theory, the Hound could die killing the Mountain and then get the last kiss from Beric. Either way, I think this would be a really cool way to show how the Hound has grown and that he's now worthy of a second chance at life. And I know what you're going to say, but Jackie, in the books, the last kiss turned Catelyn into this vengeful zombie. Is that going to be the ending for the Hound? To which I say, not necessarily. Like I said, this would be something that would only appear in the show and not the books. So the writers could totally change the powers of the last kiss a little bit so that the Hound can still live a normal life and not be a murdering zombie. Now, let's move on to everyone's favorite little murder protege, Arya Stark. The people I've talked to about this seem to be really divided about Arya's fate. I've had several people tell me they think she's going to live and become a lady, and some people tell me they think she's going to have to die fighting the Night King. I personally don't really think that Arya is going to die. I think she's going to live. We've really seen Arya embracing her inner strength and becoming this powerful warrior we all knew that she was able to be. I think her death is just not going to be a satisfying ending to her character arc. What's the point of seeing her becoming this amazing fighter and embracing this part of herself if she's just going to end up dead? It doesn't really make sense to me. But when it comes to what Arya would do after surviving the Great War, I really go back and forth. This is because I could see two very distinct futures being feasible for her character. And I guess to really go into this, we also have to talk about what's going to happen with Gendry. I definitely think that Gendry will live in the final season because his character was reintroduced so late in the game. I don't think they're just going to kill him off. I think he has to serve a greater purpose. I think he'll probably be legitimized in order to reestablish House Baratheon in this new Westeros. But As to whether or not Arya would want to be with him or even marry him, I'm not sure. A lot of people take Arya's conversation with Ned in season 1 as indication that she never wants to get married. I don't think necessarily it's marriage that she objects to. I think she objects to marrying someone who would expect her to be something she's not. However, I could also see her not being married. I could see her just being a knight, or maybe even traveling west of Westeros. That would also be something really cool to see. I think it really just depends on what direction the writers decide they want to go. I could feasibly see it go either way for her character. I have so many more thoughts about Arya's future and whether or not she may end up married to Gendry, but I'm kind of going off on a tangent, so I think that might have to be another video for another day. I actually do have an idea for an Arya and Gendry video in the works, because while I was watching season 3 with my mom, the scene where Melisandre takes Gendry really inspired this idea in me. I really think that what she said to both of them could have been foreshadowing, and when I looked all over the internet to see if anyone else had mentioned the word she said to Gendry, I couldn't find any theories on it, so that's definitely something I'm going to do later. This is the perfect transition to start talking about Melisandre. I think it's pretty obvious that Melisandre is going to die in season 8, considering she outright said that she has to die in Westeros. I am not entirely sure how I think Melisandre will die yet, because I need to gather some more evidence, but I definitely think her death will help Jon and Daenerys in the Great War in some way. She has told Jon on numerous occasions that she has the power to help him win this war, and I don't think she's just going to be hung for her murder of Shireen, because that would just be so anticlimactic. I think her death has to serve a greater purpose. I also have a feeling that when Melisandre dies, she will die by fire, because we all know that she said time and time again, death by fire is the purest death. Once my thoughts on how Melisandre will meet her demise are a little more organized, I will definitely make a video about it. I just have a few hunches that I need to gather more evidence in order to support, so keep your eyes out for that. Another character who definitely has to die in season 8 is Varys. Melisandre told Varys last season that he will die in Westeros, and I think we will see his death in season 8. Yes, Melisandre never said when Varys will die, but I don't think she meant that Varys is going to die in Westeros 50 years from now in his bed. I definitely think he's going to meet a violent end. My current theory is that Varys will be killed for betraying Daenerys in season 8. I'm going to make another video about this because there's a lot of different things to talk about with this, and I want to be able to show some clips to support why I think this in the video, so that's going to be up on the channel hopefully very soon. The next character I want to discuss is Davos. I hope that Davos lives in season 8 because after everything this man has been through, he just really deserves a break, let's be honest. Davos has survived a lot of bad stuff, and I just have to believe that he will survive this too. I think his death would be really sad and unnecessary, and come on, he's gotta live to be an honorary grandfather to Jon and Daenerys' child. So come on, writers, just let Davos live and have a nice, happy ending, please. You know, I just thought of a character who I 100% forgot to include on my list, and that is Bronn. To be 100% honest, I'm really 50-50 on his fate. I could easily see him living, but I could also easily see him dying. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the books, Bronn has actually already been written out. So that really means that his fate on the show is possibly going to be entirely different than his fate in the books. He could very easily die to have an emotional effect, Or we could see him end up getting the castle that he's been promised. I really think it just depends on how the writers want to go with this, because there's no book example for them to follow since Bronn's already been written out in the novels. My first instinct was that he's going to die. I don't know why this was the first thing I thought of, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to list Bronn under who dies, even though I could see it going either way for him. There is a character whose fate I am feeling pretty confident about, and that is Sam. I definitely think that Sam is going to live at the end of Game of Thrones. I don't know about you, but Sam is a character who I have really sympathized with. His story just grabbed me from the beginning, and I've really enjoyed seeing him improve and become stronger and more sure of himself. I just really want to see him live at the end of all of this, and I think it would be a great story of an underdog going against the odds. And I think it's pretty safe to say that if Sam lives, then Gilly will live too. There's also another thing I was wondering about. I wonder if perhaps, since all the Tyrells are now gone on the TV show, if Jon will decide to give Highgarden to Sam, acknowledging Sam as the true Tarly heir. Now, this may not happen in the books, since there are more Tyrells in the books that aren't on the show, but I think Jon might decide to relieve Sam of his Night's Watch vows, since Sam took those vows under the threat of death from his father. And then Sam would be able to marry Gilly and raise little Sam as his own son. And going back to the who tells your story part, I think it would be really interesting if we found out at the end of the show that Sam has written down the story of Jon and Daenerys to preserve it for future generations. And it could be titled A Song of Ice and Fire. But whether or not Sam does become Lord of Highgarden, or if he just becomes a maester and is reading this story to the Jon and Daenerys child, I definitely think he's going to live. I don't think he's going to die. Unfortunately, a character who I think is going to die is Theon Greyjoy. Theon is another character that I used to hate, but now really love. I think he's undergone an amazing character transformation, and he's been through so much. I wish there could be a happy ending for Theon, but I just don't think it's possible. After everything he's been through, I don't even know what a happy ending to Theon would look like. I think Theon has to die killing Euron, and this will really cement his redemptive arc. I do think that Theon will be successful at saving Yara, though, so his death will not be for nothing. I think Yara will live and become Queen of the Iron Islands like Daenerys promised her. And hopefully an emotional death scene from Theon will get to showcase some more of Alfie Allen's amazing acting chops and maybe finally earn him that Emmy nomination that he deserves. We can only hope. I know this video is getting a little long, but there are two more characters I have to discuss before I wrap it up, and those are the two Stark siblings I have not discussed yet, Sansa and Bran. My opinions here may be a little controversial considering they seem to be kind of unpopular opinions, but I think Sansa will live and Bran will have to die. To be completely honest, Sansa annoyed the crap out of me in season 1, but since then we've really seen a great character evolution from her. She's become this strong, independent lady of Winterfell, and much like I said with Arya, I just don't think that death would be a satisfying conclusion to her character. I also don't know how much physical fighting we will see from Sansa. Sophie Turner has said in an interview that Sansa's battles in Season 8 will be more emotional, so I don't think you're going to see much of Sansa swinging a sword. When it comes to Bran, I just have a strong feeling that he has to die in order for the Night King to be defeated. We've seen that he's marked by the Night King and that he has very similar powers to the Night King, so I think there is going to be some kind of mental battle between Bran and the Night King in Season 8. I have some thoughts about how Bran's death could possibly come about, but it's very hard to say because there's still so much we don't know about Bran and his powers. I definitely want to make a more in-depth video about him and how his story could possibly end later on once we've had some more time to think about this, and maybe some more clues about what exactly being the Three-Eyed Raven entails. And like I've said with other characters, I just can't think of a possible happy ending for Bran. I feel like he's already had to sacrifice his personality and his self to become the Three-Eyed Raven. In many ways, I think Bran Stark already is dead. I just don't think there's any kind of possible happy future for him. I don't think you'll ever see him become Lord of Winterfell. He's isolated basically everyone around him, and I don't think he'll ever be able to be the Bran he once was ever again, even after the Night King is gone. So, to sum it all up, in my opinion, the survivors of the series will be Tyrion, Arya, Gendry, Sansa, Brienne, Davos, Sam, Gilly, Yara, the Hound, Missandei, and Jon. Meanwhile, the characters who will die will be Daenerys, Beric, Jorah, Grey Worm, Tormund, the Mountain, Euron, Theon, Bronn, Jaime, Cersei, Melisandre, Varys, and Bran. That brings us to 12 survivors and 14 casualties, a pretty even split. And like I said, there are some characters who I could see living or dying, so you might have to give or take. So that is it for this video, guys. Please like it if you enjoyed. And let me know in the comments who you think will live and who will die in the upcoming final season of Game of Thrones. Tell me if you agree with me or if you disagree and you want to tell me what you think. I would love to hear that as well. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content. Like I mentioned, there are some more theories about Game of Thrones that I want to post and that I'll start working on soon. I hope to see you guys at the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!